9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, it's the live episode, which means we have come to the end of April. And we have covered some pretty intense topics. So with every live episode, the goal is to review. The goal is to talk about anything that we might have learned. The goal is to allow people to chime in. So just to review what we talked about for April. We started off with the topic of what is authentic forgiveness. What does that look like? And this was the creator's corner. We kind of reached out to a couple other podcasters to kind of get an insight on what they felt authentic forgiveness was. So that was a really interesting topic, and we're going to dive a little bit into that. We also talked about recycling pain in relationships and what does that look like to pay pain forward. And then we had the aftermath. What is your breakup profile? How do you handle breakups? And what does that look like moving forward into new relationships? And as with every month in our House is on Fire series, we talked about mental health in the community as it relates to the Black community. And for that, we partnered with Daryl with All Things Black Podcast. So we had some pretty, I would say, healing type of conversations, if not healing, a lot of awareness and maybe some accountability in these conversations. And to get started, we're going to start with talking about authentic forgiveness. What is authentic forgiveness? And Chris and Keisha, you guys, what would you say is authentic forgiveness? Because this is one of the episodes that we had some other individuals partner on with. So we get to hear what you feel is authentic forgiveness. What does that look like? And also, just as important, what is it not? What is something that might be considered a fake forgiveness? So, Keisha, Chris, in your opinion, what is that?
I think it's when the forgiveness is coming purity from the heart. I think it's fake when, the forgiveness has a but attached to it. I forgive you, but XYZ, or part of the forgiveness is just to manipulate somebody to get them to do what you want them to do. Pretty much when it's pure from the heart, I think, that's when it's sincere.
Yeah, I mean, I would second that, but also I would say what it doesn't look like is if you keep holding on and holding it over somebody's head for as what you've forgiven them for. Now you may not forget it, but you can't keep harboring on. Hey, well, this happened or that happened or whatever. Just knowing that you're not going to let this person almost. You're going to always burden them with whatever it was that you allegedly forgave him for.
Right. And Marcus is here, and he was with me on the episode. Was there anything about the authentic forgiveness episode that kind of stood out to you, Mark, or was it, or did any of the conversations that were had during? I mean, we all learned about Pierre and how much he did not care, but that was a takeaway for me. But what other element within that conversation do you think kind of moved you, or was there anything that had you think about things in a different way?
Nah, I mean some of the things, just being able to. I just look back on it, and yeah, Pierre was one of the things. Learned that new, but just how just to be like genuine about it, about that, and just letting it go, and really just from that gist of just letting things go and just moving on forward, and being able to give yourself first. That's what I took
Here's a
from it.
question.
Yeah.
Here's a question. What do you tell somebody who says they have forgiven or talks about being forgiven, or says they're doing the work to forgive, but they are not doing it. Like, what type of conversation is that? And we have Marlowe. Marlowe's here. She was actually a part of this conversation. So first, let her introduce herself, and then what we're doing right now, Marlowe, is kind of reviewing our conversation we had about authentic forgiveness. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the peoples.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Marlowe. Most people know me as the woke therapist. I am a therapist in real life and a YouTuber.
Yes.
Full-time nerd.
You can definitely see stuff that other people can't. But we're talking about authentic forgiveness. And that's the episode we're reviewing right now. We heard from Chris, Keisha, and Mark, but was there anything in that episode that stood out to you that kind of changed your way of thinking about things, or just gave you insight of looking at forgiveness in a way you might not have before?
Oh, absolutely. Marcus and Daryl, like, child. The things that they shared from a male's perspective were so insightful for me because, of course, even as a therapist, it's like you can understand a concept such as forgiveness from, a therapeutic perspective. You can understand it from your own personal experience. You can understand it vicariously through what other people have experienced. But I never heard a true, honest explanation of what it's like from a male's perspective. So what both of them shared that day was extremely insightful for me. And I've, sent the podcast to so many people and requoted them several times because it was extremely insightful. So that's definitely what stuck with me.
Yeah, it was rather insightful. I definitely agree. And just in ways to kind of calling myself out in certain areas where when I say I don't care about certain things, and of course, we already gave shouts out to Pierre, but we're in elements where I say I don't care versus in different examples where I say it and don't really mean it. There's some denial there, but then also in areas where I literally don't care. And what Daryl was really able to kind of drive home on that aspect was it might not be good to be in that energy of just never not caring. Like, sometimes you might need to care because there might be something that has to get addressed, or there might be something that has to be disclosed or uncovered so you can move forward, right? So it was an interesting conversation. I think what it also did was highlight what forgiveness isn't, right? Like,
Yeah.
we say we forgive people, but you're carrying a grudge. You're carrying, well, you did this, and I'm gonna be mad at you forever because you did this, but I forgive you. And the question I have for you guys too is, when they say forgive and forget, do you really forget? And because if you forget, are you still learning from that experience if you've forgotten it? Do you guys put any credibility to that phrase, forgive and forget?
I definitely don't. Because I think forgive and forget would be like disassociating. And like you said, you can't really learn from that. It's like forgiveness, like I was saying on the podcast, I think it's a misunderstanding people have about forgiveness, where it's the thought of, if I were to make the decision to forgive this person, it means that I'm justifying their actions and they're not being held accountable. So it's the thought of, maybe I need to hold on to make sure that they stay accountable. But you can't ever forget what was done to you unless you wash it out your memory, get amnesia, or disassociate. And I think that even if you tried to, it's just not possible, because then you wouldn't be learning anything. And I think it's kind of a paradoxical existence of understanding how to simultaneously release a person and like accept, yeah, this transpired, it wasn't right, but you put it into your arsenal of experience so that you can use it moving forward, so you don't make that same mistake again, or end up in a situation similar to that again. So I don't think that the forgetting aspect is necessarily good. But if we talking about romantic relationships, which we talked about on that podcast, you kind of have to redefine what you mean by forget.
Yeah, yeah. Like for me, the movie Eternal Sunshine of a Spotless Mind with Jim Carrey in it, like I honest to God but wish that that was a thing. Do you understand how many people I would take a pill for? Like I would take a pill for a lot of people. Sorry, I'm getting lost. How about Keisha, Mark, and Chris? What is your viewpoint? I would take a pill though. What is your viewpoint about the forgive and forget? Do you honestly forget? Is that really something that you can do, in your opinion?
Absolutely not. I think it's important not to forget. For self accountability, you want to prevent it from happening again if you can, if all possible. I think it's important that you forgive, but it's also important that you remember what somebody did to you to prevent it from happening again.
What say
Yeah, well,
ye?
y'all know I always talk about the forgive and forget. I mean, like I say, you want to forget it because you don't want to hold on to that negative, bad energy. Like you just want to release from all that. I mean, now you don't want to forget it, so you don't want it to happen again. But I mean, you want to. It's all about just getting rid of that bad energy. You don't want to keep harboring on those bad feelings. Like you may be doing better, but then as soon as you think about it again, then you start feeling bad again. So that's the reason why I say just go ahead and forget it and release that bad energy.
Oh, we have a
I
That's a
agree.
different
That's
that's
another.
opinion.
That's
that's
another
correct.
spin on it. Releasing that bad energy. I agree with that part, Chris. As far as releasing the energy, but you still need to remember what happened.
I think a
Uh,
better word would be integrate.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like if
Integrate.
you integrate it into your experience, then you would be able to. So that's kind of like if we married, like what Keisha said and what Chris said. It's like if you integrate it into your experience, then you can remember that, every time I go to this place, this man gonna trip me, right? It's like you remember that, but integration allows you to release that negativity that's associated with that. Every time you go to that place to not go around that corner because they have that dude that be tripping people.
Right, right. So here's a question. Have you ever, and this is for everybody, have you ever truly been forgiven? And does that feel different than when somebody says they forgive you for something and you can tell that they haven't? And I'm gonna throw that to Mark first since he's been quiet. What have you ever been in an experience where you have truly been forgiven? What does that feel like? And then an experience where somebody says they forgive you, but you can tell they're still holding stuff over your head. Like, what are the differences in your experience? And then I want to hear from everybody else.
Forgiving, and it's kind of like a good feeling. It's not like because you honestly know that that person truly forgives you because they can go home. They don't constantly remind you of what you did or anything like that. Whether it be like a friend or in a relationship, that person doesn't hold a lot of stuff over you unless you know what I'm saying. It feels like it's safe. It's a safe space. But when someone does that, they say they forgive you, and they truly don't forgive you, it's not a good spot. I mean, that they haven't really truly forgiven you because of the body language, the conversations are short, can't hold anything or whatever. They just pretty much you feel the tension whenever you're in the room with that person, and it's like you can cut it with a knife, and then you just feel like it's like a whole bunch of a negative vibe that you get whenever you're in that room. From personal experience, I going through a divorce and everything like that, I just it just feels, it's icky, and it's not a good feeling. And you can still feel the tension in the vibe, and in the room whenever, and other people can feel it too. Not to say, what I'm saying, other people can feel it too, whether it's a tension between you and a friend, tension between you and an ex-lover, because they'll feel that somebody might come over and say, "Oh man, you all right? You felt like somebody just like you just got stabbed in the eye with somebody just looking at you." You know what I'm saying? It's a different feeling. Like I said, the differences between is like it's a good feeling when somebody truly forgives you because you're able to get along with that person again. But when somebody does not forgive you, they say they forgive you, but does not forgive you, it's a whole nother vibe, and it's not a good one.
Yeah, it probably feels icky. How about the rest of y'all? Have y'all ever been in a situation or had any experiences where you have felt authentic forgiveness, but you have also felt when somebody wasn't genuine with it?
I've definitely felt that. And it's a lot like what Marcus was saying. To me, it's kind of like when there's authentic forgiveness, it's like a brand new CD, right? But when it's inauthentic forgiveness, it's like a scratched up CD. That's literally what it feels like interacting with the person. Like one is smooth like butter, it works, it integrates, it just, it vibes. And the other one is just kind of like a mechanical booking kind of feeling.
It's like I tolerate you.
Right. Exactly.
And look, I don't want nobody tolerating me. Like,
Hello.
just leave me alone. Leave me be.
Right.
What about you, Chris? Because you always have interesting monkey wrenches to throw in it. Have you ever been on the end of somebody who does not really forgive and say they did?
Absolutely. Oh
You sure?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Oh no, what you mean? You sure I have?
Yo, you heard that? Thought my mic was muted. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, but I mean, plenty of times I felt it where I was given the perception that I was fully forgiven, but I mean, it feels like you're always on edge. Like no matter what, as soon as you do something, you already know what punches are coming out and what's gonna be said, and it's like you just already bracing for it, and it might ain't got nothing to do with anything like that, but you know it's gonna come up in that situation. So it's not a good area to be in.
I have something to say, but it's gonna make me sound so callous right now. So, Keisha, before I say it, because I'm listening to what everybody's saying, and there's like something in my chest I just need to get off. But Keisha, what is your experience?
My experience is, when someone says they forgive you and they really haven't, they keep bringing it up. It's like whatever they're forgiving, supposedly have forgiven you for, it'll come up periodically. And to me, that lets me know that this person, really haven't forgiven you for whatever you ask them for forgiveness for. Yeah, and I've been in situations like that. It hadn't been in a relationship with like a man, but like in relationships with my sister and friends, I've experienced that. And it's not a good feeling.
It's not a good feeling, but I think, and this is what I was saying, that's coming to the surface for me. If I authentically say I forgive you and you don't believe me, or you choose to think, because if I don't forgive you, I'm not gonna say I do, because I really can't live in that space of just ingenuine type of energy. If I do not like something you did, or I don't feel you're a safe person to be around me, I won't be around you, and you will know because my absence out of your life will be that indicator. So I guess when it's like if I do something and I say I'm sorry, I mean it. If you choose not to receive it, that's on you. Do you guys not agree with that? Like if I'm saying I'm sorry to you and you don't think I'm being authentic, I could care less after that. Like I said I'm sorry. I don't know what else you want from me. Like if you still want to think I'm not being authentic, then that's more about that person, because I'm not going to jump through 10,000 hoops to prove that I'm sorry, or sorry, that I apologize, because sorry is a character reference. Anybody who's in the military hearing me say that, if I'm apologizing, I mean it. If I don't apologize, then I'm holding something against you, but I won't be around you either. So is that bad? Like to say, okay, I apologize. If you don't receive it, that's about you, not me.
I know there's nothing bad about it, as long as if it's coming from you genuinely, then I don't think there's nothing bad with statement like that. I don't think you really need to. I mean, you don't have to prove it to the person. The way you prove it is by just showing. You just genuinely show that, hey, well, I'm not going to bring it up and everything. So that right there, to me, would prove that all is well, all is forgiven.
Yeah, I would say change behavior, and moving forward.
I think that sounds like a person who doesn't like a person who hasn't forgiven themselves, or a person that may have like a lack of trust, not just like for you, but I mean like for anyone. Because as you were saying that, it made me put my therapist hat on. I'm sorry. It just like you flipped the switch. And I was like, that's interesting. Like if you apologize to a person and you say that you're sorry and you do have changed behavior, and the person is still kind of pining over, like, are you sure you've forgiven me? That to me kind of sounds like there's something else going on with this person,
Right.
of them not taking it for, face value. So that what that sounds like to me is kind of like a guilt, which usually means that that person hasn't forgiven themselves for something with that. So hypothetically, if we were to say that, you betrayed the person in some way, right? They've never forgiven themselves for allowing you to betray them. So
Gotcha.
even though you're sorry and you admit that you did something wrong and you're holding yourself accountable, it's the fact that they're still kind of pining over the fact that they haven't gotten over it on their end. Because, closure is a individual thing. Other people can't give us closure. So they have to come to a place within themselves.
Right. Right.
So, what if, like, say you totally forgive that person, and that person is, like Marlo was saying, was pining over, and still, they saw that that you truly forgave them or whatever, but they still haven't found it within themselves to accept your forgiveness. Do you think that it might be something that they may have done to you, to that person, that they may need to ask for forgiveness? Is that something that could hold them back from truly forgiving you, giving that person?
It's
See
possible.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's legit possible. Because
So
if you
for
think about it, like, because the scenario I'm thinking about is like, say if you have like this husband and his wife, right? And the husband caught the wife cheating,
Mhm.
right? But before he caught her cheating, he cheated,
Yeah.
but she don't know, right?
Okay.
So he got all upset and things, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," right? And then she asked for forgiveness, and you're like, "Oh, I forgive you," right? But then you're still kind of like harping on it. Like if she's like if you're like asking her, like, like, you sure you forgive me? You sure you forgive me? Type of thing. Like, we good? Like, you sure we good? Type of thing. And that would be
Yeah.
a weird dynamic because it's like she cheated on you. So why are you asking if we good? And it can cause an unrest in the person because it's the thought of like a suspicion where it's like, how did you so easily, forgive me for that? Or how could I so easily like forgive you for that when I did this particular thing? Does that make sense? Because nobody knows but you, type of thing. So that can
Hmm.
cause that
Guilt
unrest and
could
that
be
type of
guilt.
thing.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think it could be guilt too. Just to add on to what you were saying, so it
Mhm.
makes sense.
so
Absolutely.
go ahead. No, no,
mm-mm.
no. Go ahead. Okay. So that like I said, that episode about authentic forgiveness really has the capacity to spark a lot of conversation just internally, thinking about your own experiences and, have I really forgiven this person, or or did I receive somebody? Did I allow myself to receive an apology? But also the dynamic of forgiving yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you have to really, before you're able to move forward, you have to forgive yourself for being the person that allowed something to happen. And when I say allow, I'm not talking about abuse. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just being in an environment, a dynamic, in a situation where you knew it wasn't healthy for you, but you chose to stay for whatever reason. Sometimes you have to allow yourself forgiveness, choose to forgive yourself for doing that. so you can move forward. And that's also a conversation that we kind of need to look at too, because sometimes we stay in situations way longer than we should for whatever reason, and we hold guilt with that. So being able to forgive yourself is just as important as forgiving others. So moving on to our next topic episode that we had. This is out of our House is on Fire series, where we're focusing on elements in the Black community that are challenges and barriers from us moving forward. And the focus was mental health in the Black community and the community impact. And because a majority of us on the panel are in the mental health profession, I just want to say we're going to be very mindful of the jargon, making sure we don't use verbiage that might not be so familiar, and not really stay on this topic too long. Because of our background, we could really get lost on it. But just throwing this out to you all, like, why are Black people scared of mental health? Like, why? Why, in y'all's opinion? Like, I talked a whole hour with Daryl about it. In y'all's opinion, why are we scared of mental health?
Because you're trying to call me crazy. And so a lot of times Black people, I think they associate mental health with being crazy. I'm not crazy. What? I don't even know. My mental health is fine. So I think that's one of the reasons why Black people, they're not as quick to go and check on their mental health, because they associate it with something is wrong with me mentally. You're calling me crazy. That's the issue, which is also a stigma.
A sense of pride is, because some families, some Black families are very prideful and want to keep things within the family. You got this crazy uncle or something like that, and he crazy, and he needs help, he needs service, but you say, nah, he's just that crazy uncle. That's it. And you just go along with it, and it's just a sense of pride because you feel like if you have someone like that in your family, and it's like a blemish, on your heritage, on your legacy. Okay, I got a dysfunctional, family member. But in honesty, they could have been helped out if they just had sought the mental that they needed. So I think it's a sense of pride and just plain out just scared of, just to admit it, that they need help.
I have to say that I cackled.
Please tell us about the cackle.
When when you asked that question, I cackled. I really did. When I was running earlier today with a friend of mine, we actually had this conversation. And the thing I told her was most of the reason why we fear that topic or going to a therapist or what have you is because there's a lack of understanding between like chronic mental illness and mental health. Like you can take care of your mental health without ever getting a diagnosis. And I think it's because people don't know that, you know what I mean? That causes people to fear it. So just like Akeisha was saying, it's the thought of like, you ain't about to call me crazy, because it's the thought of the only people who go to therapists are crazy people. You know what I mean? And not like, I just started this new job, I've been promoted, and it's like I'm a COO now, and this is so much on my shoulders, and I really don't know how to hack this, and being a mom at the same time, and I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I'm doubting myself. It's like that's something you can go to a therapist for. Like, I've been in this career for 30 something years, and I don't like it anymore. I'm sad at work every day. I dread going to work. Like, Sunday is the worst day of my life because I remember the next day is Monday. Like, that's the kind of stuff you can go to a therapist for. And none of that warrants, like, let me go ahead and write you a prescription and give you this diagnosis type of thing. So I think it's a lack of knowledge of
Right.
how to make it work for you.
I agree, 10,000%. And I always go to this example where people have used, and I know, Marlo, you're going to jump on this too because it annoys the hell out of you too, how people throw the word narcissist around. And it's like, dude, people's behaviors do not equate the personality disorder that's coded, right? It's like, you can't, everybody's not a freaking narcissist. people have narcissistic behaviors, but it's not the same thing. And I think people have used so many words like bipolar and anxiety and depression, and people have used it so much in general terms that, like what you said, people don't understand that there's a difference between actually having a diagnosis and then addressing individual behaviors. So that is exactly on point.
Oh yeah, dude. That's my biggest pet peeve. Like, I'm just like, let's just toss it up and just say all of us are narcissists because that's where it's going right about now. I don't like how she looked at me. She probably a narcissist.
There might be a couple on this panel. I'm just saying. But like, everybody has to have some level of some type of those behaviors to get ahead in life, especially when you're living in an environment that where you have to have some type of, I feel this way about myself to get by, to get ahead. So it's really interesting, and I think, I agree with all what you guys said. There's a pride thing, there's an ego thing, there's an embarrassment thing, and there's just a miseducation around it. But how do we get around it? So the follow up to that question: how do we get around those barriers?
Podcasts like this, we educate.
That's
We
it.
like ambassadors in so many words. I feel. Ah, I feel.
I had to give some claps for that.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I felt really special just now because I was like, "Is that applause?"
Yeah, standing ovation at that.
I love it. Nah, dude, that's true. Like, I feel like it's our personal responsibility to be like ambassadors for the cause. Cause I mean, not to like plug my channel or anything, but like my YouTube channel, the most important thing that I'm so proud of what I've done since I've been on YouTube is I have converted more people to go to therapy than I have in just my career because people seeing me be a normal human and have a sense of humor and talk spirituality, cuss a little bit. It's like being able to see that there's a therapist that behaves like a normal human was so eye-opening for people because it's like I would have never thought that therapists behave like this. It's like, well, what did you think? It's like, I thought, you just go in the office and it's like, well, how does that make you feel?
How does it make you feel? There you go. That's our go-to. How does that make you feel? What would you do differently
Exactly. So I think it's
to
like it's
help
little
me help
things
you
like
solve
that.
your problem?
Oh,
Yeah.
let's unpack that. Let's unpack that.
Yeah. Let's unpack that. Let's process
And that's why guys don't like talking to us.
that. Exactly.
Just don't do your therapy on me. Stop doing therapy talk. Okay. If this is the only way I'm gonna get you in there, I'm just
Legit, dude, legit. It's a beautiful thing though, man. Like I think that's the solution to it. I think, just like with my clients, like I mean, I have clients I've terminated from therapy, and of course that's not a negative word. That's just what we call it when, you delivered. So it's like clients I've had that have been terminated from therapy, it's like they're champions for it. And I mean, for them to, and I mean, these are like young people, like college students, graduate students, and for them to talk to classmates and friends about how much therapy helped them, it starts to give people a different perspective. So I really feel it's like that whole like mini ambassador program, if you will, that can start to shift people's perspectives.
right, right. And Chris, did you fall off the I don't know? Are you still hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm just
Is it a
saying,
question?
like, you know what? I'm trying to include you. But if you want to go ahead and keep drinking, that's
Oh,
fine. We'll move ahead.
wow.
We'll,
Look, man. No, man. Look, I'm not doing anything. No, but now I will say the one thing that I like is nowadays, like the conversations that we're having right now, and that's is had a lot more often for as mental health and people in our community learning more about it for us getting that help. And I think that's going to pay off down the road with the next generations that's coming behind us. And I think that's kind of what's been holding us back for a while is just not being able to clear those mental hurdles that we've been trying to get over for the past few generations. So it is good that we're able to have these conversations. Both mainly, I know women they kickstarted it, but now, like I said, the past few years, you got more men that is seeking to get the help that's needed.
Absolutely. And I just love when I see men who choose to come into the mental health field, because there's such a lack. There's a lack of people of color, and there's a lack of males. So when I see men step in, and I agree with you, Chris, 100%. I think the generational education is going to allow us to be more open and accessible in that space versus back in the day where everybody kind of turned their head, like Mark was saying about the crazy uncle or the auntie that just wasn't right. You just turned your head, or you laughed, or you made jokes, and it's not funny. It's not funny. So it's definitely something, a conversation that needs to occur, needs to continue, and needs to be made a priority in our families. Hug your sons. Let your kids know it's okay to talk. It's okay to cry. Sometimes freaking just sucking it up is not the answer. Some of the statistics that we had in that podcast episode was extremely alarming. Just the rate of suicide in Black youth. And people act like suicide is not a Black people problem. It is. It really is. So it's about educating ourselves and educating one another. And like Marlowe said, being accessible, having conversations like this, allowing people to know that there's help out there. And, everybody needs it every once in a while, and that's okay. The next episode we're going to jump into is recycling pain in relationships and how to not pay pain forward and have the new person paying for what somebody else did to you. So that conversation was fun. That conversation was fun. Throwing it out to you all, like, did anything in that episode stand out to you? Did anything in that conversation make you look at things differently? Or for anybody who hasn't heard the episode, and for Marlowe included, what are some barriers or what are some things that come up in relationships when you find yourself paying for what somebody else did this to their from the past person?
Oh my God.
Let it go.
Just go ahead and get the damn scissors,
I
child.
know. Oh my God.
Oh, Lord Jesus in heaven, God, Father God, cut the cords. Because I feel that's fighting a losing battle. And I think the most disheartening thing that a person can experience is when you're coming into a connection with a person open, vulnerable, wholeheartedly investing into it. And it's almost the equivalent of, those little funny videos they have of dogs and cats that like are running outside, but the sliding door is closed and they just like hit the door.
Yep.
Like that's what it's like, because it's like you think that you're coasting along in a connection, you think that it's growing into something, and then all of a sudden you hit this hiccup and this hiccup and this hiccup and this hiccup, and then you remember the stuff the person said about their past, and it's like, oh damn, you wanted them. So I think that initial realization of that is, I think, probably the most disappointing thing that most people experience in relationships. But the thought is, depending on your personality type, if you're like a natural fixer, it's like you're going to feel compelled to want to prove to that person that you're not like that person or that you're different. And you can get into unhealthy territory of starting to overcompensate or feeling as if you need to prove yourself. And that's unfair to you because you're not the person that hurt that person. And that's not your responsibility because that person needs to do their work. So a lot of times, when people are hurt, we can go back into life and want someone to prove us differently. But I think that's one of the great lies that the human experience tells us, is that someone's going to prove us different. People are not. Like someone who's healthy is going to leave. Someone who's unhealthy is just going to stay in a codependent connection. And the person who's wounded will always feel that what they do is never enough. You know?
Right. Do you all think females do that more than men, or do you all think men do it more than females? And I want to see
Females
what
more
guys
than
think.
men.
I feel
Hold
good.
up,
Females
I
more than
wasn't
men.
even done. You know what? Why do you think that, Chris?
Why they? Oh, because a guy, once he moves on to the next woman, he's not even thinking about the last woman. So
That's a bunch
yeah,
of
I'm telling you, that's no, that's real talk. But then it's like,
you
but
crazy.
when the woman moves on to when the woman moves on to the next guy, she's looking for the previous guy in the next guy instead of just taking the next guy as a clean slate.
I'm here to tell you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcus, because he don't make me mad.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm trying. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Marcus.
Marcus, you got to move faster than that because we ready. We ready.
My bad, Marcus.
Let me stop before it goes bad. You're going south quick, man. But nah, it's more even because guys can go do the same thing. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I've done it myself. I mean, I think it's a 50-50. Chris, I agree but disagree with you, man. But it's more. I mean, it can happen to both of them. But when you really had someone that you really wanted to be with and wanted to stay with, and that person really hurt you, you can take that into the next relationship because you're gonna be thinking about that person and what they did, and then as soon as that new person do something that's similar to that old person, you're gonna, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna shut down, you're gonna revert back, and you'll be like, yeah, you know, it's just all over. So that means that just lets you know that you really didn't heal over that last relationship. I mean, some guys can do it, some guys can do it, but you know, it's not all guys. So I would just say that. I just didn't want. Okay, ladies, y'all can whatever
Yeah,
y'all want to say.
I wouldn't say all guys. No, I
Thank
wouldn't
you,
say
Marcus.
all guys. I mean, I'm just speaking for as me. I know me,
I
and
understand.
maybe I'm different, but I'm not worried about the previous person when I've moved on to the next person.
So, Chris, you have never been involved with a woman, and that relationship end could have been because something you messed up, she messed up, or y'all just decided that it was the best thing to do, and never thought about that woman. Just never. You just moved on to the next woman. Just never. Not just have a moment where you just thought back, like, dang man, I wish things would
I
have
mean,
went a better way.
I would say maybe one person, maybe one person. That's it. Maybe one out of whatever. But it's no. I mean, but I'm like, once I move on to the next one. Hold on. What did that bird call me?
That's the closest thing I can do to a bullshit flag is a crow.
Oh
Proceed. Go
man,
ahead.
yo.
Those crows are killing me. I'm weak.
Like I said, I'm like, but that's just
But
how.
you are young. You're young, so that could play a role into it as well. Not
Yeah,
throwing
What?
shade,
that ain't
but
got
I'm
nothing
just
to do
What?
with
saying.
Yeah.
investment. Like, because
What does that have to do with
if
anything?
you're not deeply invested in a person, you know what I mean? Like, if you were dating someone or whatever and stuff didn't work out, then yeah, it's like you kind of do just move on and not think about them again. If you're not like, if you weren't deeply invested into it, it's like it's just kind of like, oh, that didn't work out. Well, moving on. You know what I mean? So
And
I
he is a Gemini, so that speaks a lot.
well, yeah, I get it. I'm a Gemini, Venus, and rising child. It'd be like that sometimes. But legit, that's what it is. It's kind of like you're just, whatever. There's more fish in the sea. You know what I mean? But if you're like deeply enthralled with someone, or like even like married, like that's a little harder to do. But I can understand what Chris is saying in the event that you weren't deeply invested in the person. Only in that case.
Right, right. And I can see that. If it's a surface level connection, when
Mm.
I have moved on, I have legit. I don't. I don't care. I'm Pierre again. I don't care. It's when you're in relationships that hit you at a core level and
Mm-hmm.
that don't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like ain't no pain. Like when you really are into somebody and love somebody and they hurt you, like that's a grief, that's a loss. There's a mourning that has to go with that. So within that healing, there is looking at the new person saying, okay, if they flag anything that looks any remotely close to what I just went through, I'm out. But I think that's normal as you go through the healing process. I think that's normal, right?
I feel like you need to not be dating if that's where a person's headspace is still at. Like, yeah, because I feel like if we look at it, like you said, the 5 stages of grief, it's like a relationship, like something like someone you're really in love with, like you were saying. It's like when you guys separate, you have to go through those 5 stages of grief. And you need to come to a place of acceptance, of understanding where, where you went wrong in the relationship, where the other person went wrong, where things started to break down. And once you get that clarity on all of that, then you can accept it. Like, okay, so that's what this was. And that's where that integration thing would come in again. So when you meet another person, that wouldn't even be on your mind. And then, like, if Michelle noticed, you ask them clarifying questions. If in the event, because it's not top of mind, if a person does something and you like, that's a little sus, let me go ahead and ask some clarifying questions. So when you said that
You
thing,
said this, what did you mean?
what do you mean by that?
Right.
You
That
know
is my go-to. This is what I heard. Is this what you meant? Like,
what you meant?
help me.
I just
Help me.
help me to understand where it is that you are. You know?
Help me. So that's just a little tidbit for any dude who happens to have the fortunate event for interacting with me. When I start asking those questions, I'm side-eyeing you because you done did something that's triggering me. So when you said this, is this what you meant? And I hope you got the right answer.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a challenge to not do that. In when you catch yourself doing it, what is the appropriate action? This is for everybody. If you catch yourself doing this to somebody, what's the appropriate action?
Hold yourself accountable. Call yourself out. Realize, ooh, my abandonment issues is being triggered right now. Goddamn. And if you're in a safe space with someone, you can say that.
Right. And what about you, Keisha? And Mark and Chris? Like, what are your viewpoints on if you're the one doing it? What do you do? Marlowe said accountability. What are some other things?
I would just do some personal reflection and think back to why I'm not with that person. Why are you still thinking about this person? Look back at it like, okay, when it's happened to me in the past, when I stop and do my personal reflection, it's like, oh yeah, man, I'm glad that was over and moving right along. So yeah, that helps me.
Take a time out and go be by yourself. That's all. I agree with Marlo and Keith on that. You start doing that, you ain't like you right. You said you're not healed.
What if you're the one receiving it?
Receiving what the person.
What
How
if
would
the
you know you're thinking
what if
back?
you're the one who's paying for somebody else's issue?
You got to know your cutoff point. I tell everyone, when you go into partnership with people, you need to know before you even meet somebody what your deal breakers are. And if a person, because I'm not like a one shot deal, like, oh, you just raised your voice a little bit, and it's like, block, right? I don't think that's the case. Sometimes somebody
Did
might
I
have
hear you
bad,
suck your teeth?
right? Did you just roll your eyes? I know you're not side-eyed me. Blocked. Did you send me the thumbs up emoji? Blocked. You know what I'm saying?
Did you say K after I sent you 3 paragraphs?
Right? Real talk. So I
It sounds like y'all petty.
no. We know some petty people.
I'm just saying, like, listen to what y'all saying. Listen, like, yo, come on, man. Like, and the crazy thing is, it's not just the 3 of y'all, but that's just like women in general be like, sometimes like, come on, man, really? Like,
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that's too much. Like, I feel like if a guy does something that you feel a way about, I think it's important to get clarity on what's happening. But when it becomes habitual, it's important for you to know what your deal breakers are. So it's like if you have somebody who, like, say, disappears for like a whole week, right? And then they just pop up again a week later, like, hey,
Like
No,
that.
don't see. No,
Like
don't. No,
nothing
don't look.
freaking happened. Just hey, I'm back.
right?
I'm
And it's
sorry.
like
Woo,
And,
that
and,
was a
and you
trigger.
know what? Not to get off track, but what is a guy thinking when you disappear for a week and then out of the blue, you just hit this girl up? Like,
Let's talk about it.
Maybe he
you
was working a
forget
bunch
that
of
she's
overtime. He might have
Let's
been
then
talk
why
working a
about
bunch
it.
of
just
overtime, and
say
he
that
was
then?
tired and working.
Just say
what
that
that got to
then.
do with your phone? It only takes 2 seconds to send a
Just send a
message.
text. Babe, I'm working
Look, man.
overtime all this week. Babe.
Sometimes you're working so much overtime, you forget to plug that thing up.
You use the
Oh,
bathroom.
whatever.
I'm sure you have
Yeah.
pooped in that time
So-
frame. Your phone's in your hand when you're taking a poop, right?
No.
Hello.
No, that's
Y'all gonna sit there
unsanitary.
and say y'all don't bring your phone in the
Listen,
bathroom?
That's
that's what's going
unsanitary.
on.
Y'all gonna say
That's
that? Y'all don't bring
what?
your phone in
What
the
are y'all?
bathroom?
They playing
What are y'all
Candy
doing?
Crush.
That's unsanitary, man.
Playing Candy Crush while they taking a poop.
Right. Real
She
talk.
said Candy Crush.
No,
Whatever.
that's real.
That's you on
Okay.
But I
Instagram.
mean, but sometimes guys need break. They sometimes guys might need a break from you, just like you might need a break from a guy.
But to
Now
communicate that.
he should be able to like communicate that and be like, hey, look, man,
Right.
I ain't feeling it. I know I'm good for it. I ain't got no problem telling somebody, look, I ain't feeling it. Like I ain't feeling it today. You might not hear from me. Or hey, look, man, and then I'll still look, man, I'm still not feeling like that. And then I just go and go to my like chill
But
spot,
how
my
does
chill
that
place.
impact the other person? And that's the thing. And
Yeah,
we're not gonna stay on this because this could be a whole conversation.
it
But when you
could.
are in a connection with somebody else, it's not just about you at that point. Like when you take the responsibility of connecting with another person, I can
Hmm.
be a complete asshole most days, but I refrain from that because I'm in connection with somebody else. So I'm gonna make sure when I do things, I'm gonna keep that person in mind. How is that person gonna react? Like, why is that so difficult?
It's not.
Thank you.
Because I'm a morbid introvert, okay? I own 3 businesses. I don't like to go outside, okay? You know what I'm saying? I am
That's
not
why
like,
we're so close.
yeah,
Oh,
you know, like,
boy.
this is my life. However, I can't say in my marriage, because I'm divorced, whether it was in my marriage, in any relationship that I've been in my lifespan, never once have I ever felt, being like the workaholic that I am, the introvert that I am, I've never been in relationship with a person where I felt I need a break from you. I've never
Thank
felt
you.
like that.
Me
Well,
neither.
you've dealt with some good people, and I commend you for that. But some of these people you need to get a break from.
If you
Like,
need a break from the
Why
person,
you
maybe
still
you
with
shouldn't
them
be in a
though?
relationship with them.
If you need a
I
break from
mean,
them, it's like, why you even with them?
everybody need a
Thank
break. Everybody need a
right.
break from somebody at times.
I mean, unless y'all
I'm not
living together,
saying
you got
not.
boo breaks.
Right.
You said what? No, now when I say a break, I'm just saying like I just need some time, some space to myself. It's not. Now I'm not saying like a break where it's like we don't speak for weeks or months at a time when
Oh,
you're in a relationship with somebody. I'm not saying that.
Well, good. I'm glad you clarified. Because as
Yeah.
introverts, I'm very full. I need a moment. I need to go do stuff by myself. But I'm still going to be aware that I need to make contact with whomever I'm in a relationship with, just to say, "How's your day?" Like, damn, can we not get a "How's your day"? I hope you had a good day. No, it's like we don't exist until it's convenient, and I think that's foul. Like any dudes who listening who do that, it's foul. Like you really are you if you're committed to a relationship, you need to think of both people, not just yourself. Unless you're selfish, and that's a whole nother story.
hello.
And we're gonna move on because
I love this.
we can't be doing this for freaking hours. This is a whole other topic. So the last topic of the month was the aftermath and what is your breakup profile. So this was a fun way to kind of look at how we move away from relationships and if it's healthy. So each of us kind of looked at how our profile was when we're in the breakup, and we most of us said we kind of take a moment, we step away. Well, no, Mark said he jumps right in. Isn't that what you
Yeah,
said?
he
You
said
jump right back into something else.
he hopping right back on that horse.
No. Well, damn.
I just,
I was like, don't be quiet now, Marcus.
Boy said time is of the essence.
hey, let it go, and get going. I start moving on. That's all.
What is your breakup profile, Marlo? When you break up with somebody, how is your most common response?
It takes a minute. Because I'm a Taurus, So whenever I break up with someone, this is something that I have thought about, contemplated, did a spreadsheet, PowerPoint, made a beautiful mind wall, did some pros and cons. Like, I really have to think about it because that's just the nature of who I am. It's like, I don't believe in giving up on people. I don't believe in breaking up over petty stuff. I don't use breakups as power plays. Like, for me to break up with you, you really have had to do some shite that is just completely unfathomable, unforgivable, unworkable. Like, it can't, we can't communicate about it. We can't compromise. Like, it literally has to be the end of the road. And whenever I get to that point, then it's a conversation that's had. And after that, I cut ties. Because for me, I don't like unfinished business. I don't like loose ends. So if I'm committed to you, then I'm committed to you and we're together and we're going to make this work. And if it gets to a point to where it's very clear that this can't work because it would either require you to be someone that you're not in order for this to work, or it would require me to be someone that I'm not in order for this to work, it's unfair to both of us. And I feel it's best to amicably go our separate ways. And when we go our separate ways, that's just it. There is no goesies backsies because there's nothing else to know.
So you do everything you possibly can to maintain it,
Yeah.
but then when you release it, do you find that, because we're both INFJs, do you find that that whole INFJ door slam has helped that when you finally do get to that cutoff point?
Oh, yeah. Because after that, you cease to exist.
You cease, you're dead.
You were
You're
never
dead.
born at that point. Because how I am, it's like I don't dislike people. I don't hold like grudges or like side eye people or something like that. It's like whenever I cut someone off, I'm in ever present indifference. So it's
There you
kind of neither here nor there. It's like I don't wish ill on your life. I don't want you to be unhappy. Like none of that. It's like it's just you're just someone I used to know, and that's just it.
Cue that lovely song. And I do think that INFJ element helps because it's the same way for me. It's like I don't feel a certain way. I don't wish ill will. Like I'm just indifferent. Like
Yeah,
it
I
is.
just said that on the podcast, man. Like, one thing I will never ever feel in my life, and I can say that with confidence, I will never feel that there's the one that got away. That I will never feel that because there's no such thing to me. Like, there is no one that got away anywhere.
I'm glad you gone.
Right? It's like you got away because I didn't want you to be here.
Woo!
So I let you go.
Maryland claps.
I said
Claps.
free child.
Yes. I ain't want you. So that's why.
Right?
So,
Enjoy
but what we did realize in that conversation is that some people do have breakup profiles that could lead to more troubling relationships, because if you don't do that time to heal, if you don't do that time to self-reflect, if you get under somebody else to get over somebody else, that might not be the best method.
Oh, that's a serial dater.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, and this is like totally irrelevant because I was like in high school. But when I was in high school, that's like how I was with boys. Like, I don't think I was ever not having a boyfriend. It's like if me and someone would break up, then I just would have another boyfriend, and that's just how it worked.
Or you got
But
the people who have somebody on the ready. Like, I
yeah,
see that this relationship is coming to an end, so let me go ahead and start something else.
go
So
ahead
when
and
this
monkey
is
bar.
actually, yeah, we're gonna keep monkey barring. Exactly. So these are definitely profiles that
Mhm.
we kind of need to be aware of if you're looking for that authentic growth to happen so you can be in a committed relationship and you're not having somebody pay for what somebody else did to you. So all of the episodes really tied into each other this month, and we're gonna wrap it up because we're hitting our hour point, but we have some really good stuff coming through next month for the month of May. But before we jet, Marla, let them know where to find you and what amazing things you have going on. That one of them might include, I don't know, me.
Yeah. So you can find me everywhere. You can Google The Woke Therapist. You could put The Woke Therapist on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, literally everywhere. Everything's under The Woke Therapist, thewoketherapist.com, all that good stuff. And I do have a new podcast, and it's called Marlowe and Mimi. And it's me and Michelle. Michelle is my co host. And we're talking about all of these wonderful things about being INFJs and spiritual people and how wonderful that life is. Yes. How wonderful it is living a life such as that.
Such as that. Yeah. And Chris, Keisha, and Marcus, do you have anything relating to any one of the topics we discussed in April? Lord, I don't even know what month we're in. That we discussed in April that you kind of want to leave with the listeners? Is there any takeaway from any one of the episodes?
No, I think we said everything throughout the episodes in the wrap up, as far as I can say.
Yeah, I agree. I had a good time. I mean, I think everything from what we've discussed, a lot of the people that's been listening, they can take a lot from that, and I'll just continue to help yourselves, with your relationships and with yourselves. Just keep learning. Chris.
Chris is, oh, come on, man.
What? No. Well, like I said, I don't think I had anything else to add. Like, I say what I say, even though y'all don't agree with it. But hey, it's me.
We hit a sensitive. Aww. Oh, wrong one. I'm sorry. Don't go cry. I'm sorry. I'm,
Better leave that Gemini man alone.
I'm sorry, Chris. Don't send your people after me, please, Chris's people, please.
You gonna send the evil twin girl.
Ugh. But all right, you guys, thanks so much for participating and listening to the wrap up. We'll be back next Sunday. Well, this will be posted Sunday, but next Sunday with a whole new set of episodes that will be helpful as you guys walk down this rabbit hole with us. But as always, you guys, take care, stay safe, be well.